Hi everybody. Today I'm making this video mostly for people suffering from Morgellons, but also people who are studying Morgellons, people who are interested in Morgellons. The primary focus of this video is Morgellons, but there are some implications here that could affect every human being on the planet. Okay? So, first let me explain to you what happened recently. Now, from my last videos, you might know that I feel like my chosen treatment is going fairly well. And mostly it involves penetrating the area where the fibers seem to want to be coming from with a needle, a pin, and getting some air in there, and continuing this process over many days, weeks if necessary, in order to let the air get in enough of the area to do what it does. So that's the primary thing that I've been doing, and it seems to be effective at controlling it. I did recently discover that even though I've cleared everything off my scalp, and I just constantly removing this one area right on where my hairline ends in the back of my neck, I continue, it'll sort of turn into like a big lump of something, and I will continue to remove it, and it comes back. So what happened recently was I removed a little more that was a little deeper to one side, to the right of the center, and shortly thereafter I developed a big lump right on the back of my neck, right on the right side, and it was as if the entity, we'll call it an entity, was moving. And I've said this before, that it does migrate from one area to the other. And I feel like when I attack it with the pin, it moves someplace else. Okay? And so I developed this big lump right on my neck. And then I did like I usually do, which was jabbed into the lump with a needle, and a bunch of stuff came out, and slowly over a few days the lump has gone down. Now in the meantime, I developed this shoulder pain, and my arm feels like it doesn't have its full strength, like something's squeezing it. Now this essentially is where I discovered the real essence of Morgellons. Okay? Morgellons is an invasive species, and it has a consciousness. So it is another consciousness that has invaded our body and our consciousness, and I can prove it. I can prove that this Morgellons has intelligence. It is an intelligent being. You could call it an extraterrestrial. You could call it an ultra-terrestrial, perhaps. I don't know, but I've taken a photograph of my armpit when my arm feels like this, and I saw this little, what came up was like a little worm, a snake, coiled around my tendons, the two of them, like squeezing it. So this consciousness probably, I believe, has the ability to do all sorts of damage if it chooses to. So in some ways I'm trying to communicate with it and find out the best way to deal with it. I am preventing it from materializing into those little creatures that are trying to grow. That has totally ceased, but it does have control over if it wants to inflict pain and make my life difficult, it can. So this leads to the question of, can it cause an aneurysm? Is there a connection between Morgellons and aneurysms? I know for a fact that Joni Mitchell had a long battle with Morgellons and also had an aneurysm. I know that is a true fact, but does that correlate on a bigger sample? I'm curious to find out, but it would not surprise me if it does, because this is a form of consciousness. This is an entity that has invaded us. And one lady was nice enough to send me photographs of her skin that had turned translucent, where you could almost see through it, like almost like a fish scaly kind of shininess to her skin, because this is an invasive, intelligent species. And to prove this even further, I'm going to show you that it squeezed my arm, and last time this happened, I went and took a picture of my armpit hair, and it had been turned into an image. And this is exactly what happened. So I think when it wants to tell me something, it is just going to squeeze until it hurts, and then when I take a picture, I can interpret it. But I'll show you what I mean. Okay? Now, it sounds crazy, but it's true. This consciousness, this Morgellons consciousness, is communicating with me by causing me pain, and then I go into the bathroom, I take a picture of my armpit, it shows me an image, and this is another way of communicating. I was communicating with the other thing, my other videos, through the sticks in the trees, but this is even crazier because it's inside my body. So let me show you what I mean. Oh man, can you see it? This is a consciousness. Morgellons is a consciousness. You want proof of extraterrestrials? You simply need to look at Morgellons. And the reason doctors and mainstream science can't figure out the answers, they're conflicted, they say it's connected to Lyme disease. Well, I believe it is connected in the sense that both are delivered by insects and are probably, you know, Lyme disease might even be part of the delivery system in some sense. You know, I'm not exactly sure, but they are connected. But this is much bigger than that. This is a consciousness, and it's an invasive consciousness, and it makes me wonder how much control does it have? Could it cause an aneurysm at any time it wants? I wonder. Right now it's communicating with me, and I'm trying to understand as much as I can. But I think there is an inherent risk that it could be something that you never get rid of, that can determine the amount of misery it wishes to inflict on you. Perhaps with the assistance, I'm curious if with the assistance of certain compounds like psilocybin or some other compounds, can you confront it? Can you, I may have to do some tests on that because it is definitely a consciousness. Now, this, I could see this totally blowing up in my face and becoming where the government realizes the danger and decides that they need to pursue people who have this disease. I mean, if that's not a potential storyline for a book or a movie, it certainly could be a very frightening prospective reality if people do realize this is an invasive consciousness, and it is trying to create a new form of life by using our bodies. But even if it doesn't succeed, which even though I have prevented it from doing that much I know for sure, by constantly attacking it with needles, it still has enough control to inflict pain on my arm, this arm, that arm, a leg, or possibly worse. So unless I figure out either how to forcibly evict it from my persons, and that may involve, I don't know, a shaman, a shaman, not a shaman, a shaman, or, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I know that hopefully some of my experiments have been helpful to some people studying it. I think I've definitely prevented it from getting worse. And I did discover some new spots that were silently moving forward, and so I never really got it all, where I could say, well, I got all of it out of my body, and is that even possible? I do not know. But I do know that this is a consciousness, and I believe its agenda is to create more of these creatures, but people need to take this seriously. This is really a dangerous situation. Humanity is being infested by a superior consciousness, superior in the sense that it has the ability to shape-shift, to morph, to reconstitute itself from the most minuscule amounts. So over time, amounts can build up until it decides to have a consciousness, and then it will move forward on some other agenda. it's panspermia gone crazy. It's a life that has invaded humans. It's an invasive consciousness. It needs to be considered as such. These are dangerous times. You know, I just don't know the full scope of it. I just don't know the whole picture. But I know it has shown me, and it continues to show me, that it has a certain amount of control over how much suffering it chooses to inflict upon me. And I continue to force it to move by impaling whatever it tries to create. So the battle continues. But this is the ultimate truth. This is not a disease. This is not a malady. It's not an illness. This is an invasive consciousness. And it is communicating with me in its own way. Causes me pain. I take a picture of my underarm and I see an image. I don't always understand it. The last one I understood very well. This one I'm a little confused what it wants to show me, but perhaps it just wanted me to explain this to you. I don't know. Anyway, that's where we're at. So keep up the fight, folks. Don't give up. Don't give up. And don't let any doctor tell you you're crazy. Don't let anyone tell you it's psychological. This is an invasive consciousness. End of story. Dead stop. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps. I hope this helps. Keep up your spirit. Okay? Peace, love,